5-year-old boy describes what the dead are doing now. It was as if something called out even in the silence, as if a whisper pierced the air and asked, "Have you ever thought about what the dead are doing now?" The question arose in his mind with a strange weight, almost like when a 5-year-old boy, with that sensitivity that adults pretend not to have, stops in the middle of the room, looks at an empty spot and says that someone passed by there. He was there, quiet, speaking softly as if he heard voices that no one else could reach, pointing to a space that seemed ordinary, but carried a vibration that betrayed something beyond matter. While the adults hesitated, he simply said, "They haven't disappeared. They continue doing things." And it was, at that moment, that doubt opened like a portal. If such a small boy was capable of perceiving movements, presences, and actions that adult eyes could no longer capture, then what was really happening on the other side? The feeling lingered in his chest, restless, almost uncomfortable, as if someone from some unseen plane wanted to explain what they were doing at that very moment. The boy continued to stare into the void, as if observing an entire scene unfolding before him, speaking simply about things that transcended common logic. He said that the dead were busy, that they were alive in a different way, and that they were doing something right now. Many people imagine that talking about what the dead are doing now is something distant, rare, or even forbidden. But in reality, this question is extremely common. It arises in moments of profound silence, when someone feels a chill for no reason, when an object changes position without explanation, or when the memory of someone who has passed away appears with unexpected force within the heart. Spiritual research around the world indicates that more than 70% of people have had the feeling that someone who has died tried to communicate, not in a frightening way, but as a light touch of presence. The truth is that the spiritual plane has never been separate from daily life, only covered by a subtle veil that becomes thicker as the adult mind becomes too preoccupied with material things. The 5-year-old boy appears here as living proof of this. He sees what adults have forgotten to notice, as if his gaze was still attuned to frequencies that have not been muffled by the emotional weight of the world. When he says he saw someone walking behind the door or heard a name whispered when he opened his eyes, many adults smile, find it funny, and go on with their lives, without realizing that this type of perception happens because childhood has not yet built walls between the physical and the spiritual. It's as if the energy field around him vibrates with greater clarity, capturing signals that in an adult would be ignored due to pure conditioning. The doubt about what the dead are doing now arises precisely from this growing distance between the human and the invisible. The rush, the fear of feeling, excessive rationality. All this creates a kind of vibratory thickness that hinders the perception of presences that continue to act on other layers of existence. The contrast is evident when observing a child. While an adult sees only an empty room, the 5-year-old boy feels people, stories, movements, because the spiritual connection is still natural to him. This disparity shows that the difficulty lies not in the spiritual world, but in the human inability to perceive what continues to happen behind the limits of matter. Simple everyday scenes make this clear. People who smell the perfume of someone who has passed away, dreams that seem like real encounters, intuitions that arise out of nowhere and prevent accidents, sensations of touch when no one is around. Even those who never talk about it have experienced something similar. These experiences are repeated across all ages, cultures, and eras, showing that the presence of the dead and their activities have never ceased to manifest. They have only ceased to be understood. That's why so many people silently wonder what's happening on the other side. And that's why a child's perception becomes a powerful reminder. The 5-year-old doesn't create stories, he translates vibrations. What he feels is an echo of what is really happening now, with those who have already crossed the boundary of matter. If this topic resonates with you, join our community and subscribe to our channel. Here we discuss spiritual health and physical well-being in a clear, truthful way, offering tips that truly make a difference. When one asks what the dead are doing now, the answer is never simple, because it involves movements that don't belong to the body, but to that which continues to exist even after the last breath. What many don't realize is that the greatest difficulty in understanding what happens on the spiritual plane comes from a forgotten point within the soul itself, an energetic core formed by everything that remained unresolved. These are old energies that were not released, emotions that were repeated in different incarnations and formed dense layers, karmic memories that remained stuck in the vibratory field like marks that traverse lifetimes. None of this disappears with death. On the contrary, it is precisely this set of vibrations that guides the soul in the first moments after the crossing. In this process, unresolved bonds continue to pulsate, attracting situations, reunions, and tasks that need to be completed. This is where the big problem arises. Many people don't realize they carry accumulated emotions, fragments of old stories, unfulfilled promises, and interrupted feelings that continue to breathe within the spiritual realm. What most people think is the end is, in fact, the presentation of everything that has been forgotten. What hasn't been transformed in life begins to demand attention from the other side, and that's how many find themselves involved in spiritual activities that the living can't even imagine. It is at this point that the 5-year-old boy emerges powerfully, not as an explanation, but as a sensitive presence. He observes, listens, and comments naturally on things that would silence adults. He says that they are tidying things up, that they are remembering what they forgot, that they keep walking as if they were looking for someone. His words, simple and direct, reveal more than any elaborate discourse. He is not afraid to say that he feels vibrations moving around him, that he perceives presences organizing their own emotions, as if the dead were busy untying knots that remained trapped in their hearts. His childlike consciousness acts as a gateway between worlds because his soul still carries the recent memory of the spiritual plane. It's as if the veil separating the two sides is still very thin, allowing him to perceive what adults have learned to ignore. When he speaks, he naturally describes the energetic tension that accompanies someone who has just left the body, a mixture of lucidity and confusion, of reunion and reassessment, of liberation and responsibility. He speaks as one who recognizes the inner movements of the spirits that continue to exist because his sensitivity reaches these subtle vibrations. The problem then lies not only in the fact that the living don't know what happens after death, but in their inability to sense what already exists around them. While adults distance themselves from their own intuition, trapped in the worries of the physical world, the boy remains connected to this invisible field. He points, he comments, he translates sensations that seem to come from a place where time doesn't work, as it does here. He perceives the soul reorganizing its structures, reviewing its journey, dealing with unfinished emotions. He describes what many would call spiritual movement, but which in reality is the continuation of everything the person carried in life. For him, it's simple. They're solving things that only they understand. And in a way, he's right. The true weight of this problem begins to appear when one realizes that what the dead are doing now is neither distant nor disconnected from the lives of the living. When a soul crosses over to the other side, carrying old energies, repeated emotions, or unfinished ties, this movement continues to reverberate in the environment. Living people begin to feel this vibration in subtle ways, a tiredness that arises out of nowhere, a persistent thought without a clear reason, a feeling of absence that appears precisely when the house is full. These are signs that someone on the other side is reorganizing their own journey, and this process echoes in the remaining bonds. Often the impact manifests itself in simple, everyday scenes. Someone enters a room and feels a heavy silence, as if something is settling there even though no one is present. A person turns on the hallway light and has the impression that someone has just passed by. Another opens the window and feels a longing that is not their own, as if they were capturing the memory of someone who has departed. These manifestations are not dangerous, but they show that the soul, on the spiritual side, continues to move its emotions, revisiting memories and organizing connections. It is a silent but profound work, and sensitive people end up feeling the signs of this movement. In families where someone has recently passed away, this weight is often even more noticeable. Days when the house feels heavy, nights when sleep doesn't come, moments when small arguments arise for no real reason. While the living try to continue their routines, there is someone on the other side, dealing with what was left unresolved. Farewells that were not said, gestures that were not understood, pains that found no space to be expressed. This spiritual reorganization creates invisible waves that touch homes, and that is why so many people say that after so-and-so died, the house changed. It's not imagination. It's the vibration being realigned. The 5-year-old boy perceives this with a clarity that is both frightening and comforting. He enters the room where the adults only see furniture and walls and says that they are tidying things up, as if he were watching a movement that no one else can see. He says that someone is remembering what happened, or that they are talking to someone they can't hear. He doesn't speak out of fear. He speaks as someone observing people resolving important matters. This childlike sensitivity reveals the real impact that the spiritual activities of the dead have on the physical world. Even when no one is paying attention, and when nothing is done, when the living distance themselves too much from their own intuition, when they stifle their emotions, when they avoid the signs, this weight intensifies. The environment seems denser, the mind becomes more confused, the body reacts with anxieties that have no medical explanation. It's as if the absence of understanding creates a distance that makes everything more difficult for those who are here and for those who are there. The greatest suffering appears when the living person feels things they cannot name, because they don't understand that they are capturing the reflection of emotions that the spirit is working on in the other plane. Moments like these demand attention, not out of fear, but out of connection. Ignoring these signs is like turning your back on someone who is trying to sort out their own inner mess. The spiritual plane doesn't disappear just because nobody talks about it. It continues to act, reorganize, resolve. The 5-year-old boy knows this because he feels the vibrations as if they were a natural part of the world. He speaks simply about what many adults avoid feeling. They continue to live, just in a different way. And this phrase, which could go unnoticed, reveals the urgency of this understanding. As long as we don't understand what the dead are doing now, the bond between the two sides weakens, and the weight of unresolved emotions spreads to those who are still here. The impact is not only spiritual, it affects routine, sleep, mood, environment, and even thoughts that arise without apparent origin. That's why so many people feel lost without knowing why. If this warning resonated with you, leave a comment. Tell us, have you or someone in your family ever experienced this? Your experience could help others too. To understand what the dead are doing now, it is necessary to accept that life continues, not as an extension of the body, but as a continuity of consciousness. Nothing is lost. Everything is reorganized. And it is precisely in this process of reorganization that the answer lies, because those who have already crossed the boundary of matter do not remain still, nor asleep, nor wandering aimlessly. They are working on something that is part of their very essence, understanding the path traveled, healing what has not been processed, reuniting with those who share the same vibration, and preparing the next steps of the spiritual journey. What the dead are doing now is, above all, an internal movement, a kind of alignment between what they lived, what they felt, and what they still need to transform. They review memories, release pains that have been kept hidden, acknowledge mistakes that have left marks, and embrace emotions that were ignored during life. It is not judgment, it is not punishment, it is not chastisement, it is lucidity. When the body falls silent, the soul finally hears everything it has always tried to say. This is why so many spirits, soon after death, enter a period of vibrational withdrawal. They observe, understand, accept, and begin to free themselves from what has accompanied them for so long. And while they carry out this process, they also draw closer to those with whom they have deep bonds. Some visit, others observe, others try to convey a sense of presence to reassure the living. Some stay close just to ensure that someone remains strong. Some distance themselves a little so as not to interfere. Some dedicate themselves to learning on the spiritual plane, because life continues to offer paths of evolution. There are also those who reunite with loved ones who have passed on before, strengthening bonds that transcend incarnations. The 5-year-old boy perceives this intensely. He says that they are talking amongst themselves, as if he were witnessing silent meetings where spirits exchange memories, share feelings, and recognize each other again. He recounts that some are learning new things, as if he were attending a kind of spiritual school where each soul understands the meaning of their lived experiences. He says that many are letting go of things they have held on to for a long time, and this phrase reveals the subtle movement of liberation that occurs when consciousness finally detaches itself from the emotional weight accumulated during life. What the dead do now, therefore, is a set of actions that exist in the field of vibration. They reconnect with their own essence. They embrace parts of the soul that have been ignored. They release trapped emotions. They re-establish spiritual bonds. They reorganize their energy to move forward. They seek understanding about what they have lived. They rediscover affections. They learn from what life left unfinished. None of this is passive. It is a state of profound inner activity, invisible to the material eye, but perceptible to those with refined sensitivity, like the 5-year-old boy, whose recent connection with the spiritual plane makes him recognize each vibration naturally. He observes and describes with simplicity what adults have lost the ability to feel. They are adjusting themselves inside, he says, showing that the process is alive, continuous, and full of movement. The solution to truly understanding what the dead are doing now is to allow that perception to re-emerge within yourself. It doesn't require mediumistic vision or special abilities. What is needed is inner stillness, emotional listening, and openness to feel subtle vibrations that go unnoticed amidst daily routine. When someone silences their mind and allows themselves to be touched by a gentle longing, a thought that arises out of nowhere, a warm memory, or a sudden shiver, that person is tuning in to what the dead are experiencing now. The solution is to refine your sensitivity to perceive what has always been happening around you, because the spiritual plane is not far away. It simply vibrates on another level. By developing this listening ability, a person begins to realize that the dead remain active, in motion, evolving. They haven't disappeared. They've simply changed state. And when sensitivity expands, fear dissolves, anguish diminishes, and the connection strengthens. The physical and spiritual worlds cease to seem separate, and the human experience becomes deeper, more conscious, and more aligned with the truth that the 5-year-old boy never forgot. No one gets lost, no one disappears, no one ceases to exist. Everyone simply follows a different kind of path. If this content is truly helping you, please leave a like so that more people can also benefit from this information. This helps spread light, awareness, and spiritual evolution. When the initial question returns, that unsettling doubt about what the dead are doing now, it no longer arrives as a silent threat or as a weight thrown onto the chest without explanation. After understanding the movement that exists beyond matter, The sensation becomes lighter, clearer, almost as if breathing finds a different rhythm. The fear dissolves as the person understands that nothing is still, that no one is lost in the void, and that all consciousnesses continue to move as real as before, but on a plane that cannot be seen with the eyes, but rather with sensitivity. That deep unease, which before seemed like a warning, now functions as a reminder that life is greater than the body and that death is merely a change of direction within the same continuous journey. At this moment, perception begins to transform completely. Longing ceases to be suffocating and becomes a vibrational bridge connecting two sides of the same existence. Memories that once hurt begin to warm, not because the suffering has disappeared, but because there is now enough understanding to allow the pain to transform into presence. The person realizes that they are not merely remembering someone who has departed. They are often capturing movements, reorganizations, and feelings of that spirit that continues to live, even if at a different frequency. Daily life begins to carry small signs that were previously ignored. A thought that arises out of nowhere, a song that appears precisely on the day when emotion is heightened, a dream that seems more like an encounter than imagination. Each fragment fits into a larger picture. The departed spirit continues to act, feel, learn, and draw near when necessary. By applying this new understanding to daily life, a person ceases to feel lost in the face of physical absence because they understand that spiritual presence is constant. The atmosphere of the house begins to feel less heavy, not because events have changed, but because the way of perceiving the energy of the place has become more sensitive. Sleep, once restless, becomes calm. The heart, once heavy, finds space to understand that the life of the dead does not interrupt the relationship built, it only transforms it. This change, although silent, completely modifies the way someone relates to their own emotions, bringing clarity to feelings that previously seemed confused or difficult to name. It is at this point that the image of the 5-year-old boy returns symbolically, as a reminder of the purity that exists before the world teaches us to ignore the invisible. He appears almost as a distant memory, a gentle presence, reminding us that spiritual perception has always been available, only silenced along the way. The calm way he talks about what he sees, the way he perceives presences that adults don't notice, the naturalness with which he feels vibrations that cannot be touched, all this becomes a reference to sensitivity and connection. He shows, effortlessly, that intuition is not a secret but a forgotten part of human essence itself. The child who observes the invisible is not outside of us. He is the memory of what we were before fear silenced our listening. From this understanding, a commitment to oneself becomes inevitable. The desire arises to cultivate this lost sensitivity, to make room for deep feelings that were previously denied, to allow intuition to speak without being stifled by excessive reason. The person begins to walk more carefully, not out of insecurity, but out of respect for what they feel. They learn to recognize when a vibration does not belong to them, when an emotion is a reflection of someone from another plane, when a shiver is a sign of presence, and when silence is a sign of spiritual movement. Life takes on new dimensions because it ceases to be limited to what the eyes see and expands into a field where everything continues to happen, even when the physical body withdraws. At the end of this journey, understanding what the dead are doing now ceases to be a frightening mystery and becomes a comforting truth. They continue to live at a different pace. They continue learning. They continue reorganizing their energies. They continue accompanying those they love. And the person who understands this begins to walk more lightly because they know they are not alone. They know there is continuity. They know that the bonds are not broken. They only change form. This awareness does not eliminate pain, but it transforms the way it is experienced. And by understanding this transformation, the person begins to realize that they too are constantly evolving, that they too are reorganizing emotions, and that they too possess a spiritual path that continues beyond what can be touched. If you've made it this far, it's because this touched something deep within you. So subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next videos will continue this journey with you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.